distinguished guests, besides our speakers, Yuri and Abby, but Yoshi and Irene Kuromia, political prisoner from the Second World War days. Their background was that they were part of the resistance to the draft in the concentration camps. And the government had to try to draft people out of the camps, fighting for freedom and democracy. Any others?
I think everybody here probably has commitments and we have some time at the end for people who want to make some statements. We do want to get started. I think that we're waiting for the urban hawk drum circle to call, but they're on the way here. Related to that reason. But we do have some time for open mic comment later. We have one piece of business to conduct. Maybe somebody can think about it.
She was called back to the ancestors about 2.5 months ago.
August 25th.
Okay. So we're here today to commemorate her spirit, her legacy, and in honor of her, we honor the best of ourselves. Also today is February 21st and marks the 39th anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. So we want to honor him in this spirit also too. And all the political prisoners. We want to free all the political prisoners. And we want to free our minds so our minds will follow.
And I'd like to greet you in an African language. And it goes like this. I will say Habari Gani to you, and you will answer in Jema. Habari Gani means what's the news? And in Jema means good or fine. So I'll say Habari Gani to you, and you reply in Jema. You all ready? Yes. Habari Gani? Jema. And you say Habari Gani. All right. Now, see, that's the African way. Africans, we like to feel our people. We like to feel, stand up against oppression. Each and every one of us should join an organization, should help fight for freedom fighters. Dr. Kramer says that there are two tendencies in history, that which is dying, decaying, and passing away, and that which is growing, coming into being and growing stronger. Capitalism, racism, sexism is dying, decaying, and passing away. African people, people of color, the political prisoner movement is growing stronger and coming to being. And we must all join together to make sure that it flourishes. Because together we will win. Together we will win. I'd like to just close by saying Harambe. Harambe is a Swahili word which means let's all pull together. And when we do it, we raise our hand in a 60 fist and we pull down saying Harambe. And if we do stick together, if we do pull together, we can win. And we're going to pull down 3 times. 3 times in honor of African people, in honor of the political prisoners movement, in honor of righteousness, and that we will win, in honor of our history. So on the count of 3, let's raise our hands high and pull down 3 strong times. And as we come down, say Harambe. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Harambe! Harambe! Harambe!
Dragon. Safiya Bukhari must have been a dragon. She was probably one of those that Ho Chi Minh referred to when he wrote, "Those who protest that injustice are people of true merit. When the prison doors are opened, the real dragon fly out." She was a former Black Panther, former Black Liberation Army soldier, and a former U.S. political prisoner. Most of all, she was a true revolutionary. I met her for the first time in the early 90s when we had a small fundraiser for one of the committees in Yuri Kochiyama's apartment. Safiya took the time out to come to speak to a group of about 10 college students who were trying to figure out what the struggle was all about. She was not one of those who kept within the circle of the converted. Rather, she took the message to the people as a true revolutionary. She was patient and answered everyone's question until there were no more questions. She could speak to thousands of supporters and converts, and she could speak to small groups of strangers just to help them along. Safiya always had a connectedness with the Asian committees at Yuri's apartment, the David Wong Support Committee, the Yu Kikamura Support Committee, the Asians for Mumia Jericho Network. She attended our fundraisers, even sang at one of them. So, well, we won't go there. There are many people who know her better and can tell you more about her. I'm sure all will agree that she was an unwavering fighter for the freedom fighters behind the prison walls. Of course, these are the U.S. political prisoners. What I can say is that I can still remember her sitting in my minivan along with Yuri and brother Steve Yip, and I forgot who else, as we journeyed to Jersey City one night to pay tribute to the late former Black Panther, Breeze Barrows. And how many trips we took together in that same van to Philly, D.C. for Mumia events. Yes, she is determined, tough, disciplined, and fierce. She is a warrior and organizer. But did you know that she liked teddy bears? You should have seen her radiant, beaming smile when my wife and I gave her a teddy bear. This fierce warrior snuggled up to the teddy bear and immediately named it the Lum Bear. It's Wayne Lum, right? Yes, of course, that radiant, beaming smile of hers, she can laugh with the best of them. I know that I'll miss that wonderful smile. That is irreplaceable. What is replaceable is the continued leadership to fight on behalf of political prisoners. In that sense, Safiya is replaceable. Let's not think that a movement has died. It is replaceable. We all raise our levels of commitment to freeing all U.S. political prisoners. I like to think that would be the highest tribute we can make to Safiya, the dragon that flew out the prison doors. Free Mumia, free Peltier, free all U.S. political prisoners and prisoners of war. Now we'll get off into the program itself.
Do we have any more?
Oh, any more solidarity statements?
AAPRP is here.
Brother McCuff will speak on behalf of the party.
Well, inside today, we enjoy wrong and profit from wrong. We call them capitalists, we call them parasites, we call them pigs. We have all kinds of little names for them. And they got their names for us. It's cool, you know. We got the yin and yang thing. We understand that. But we in the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we like to do a little more than just yin and yang. Because we have a legacy of people who did a lot more than just talk. People who just weren't activists, they were organizers. They organized people to support themselves, to do what's best for us, the working class, the vast majority of people on planet Earth, over and against those who would use us, abuse us, oppress us, suppress us, etc., etc., etc. So in the party, we don't just have talk. We have a goal. We have a goal of worldwide socialist revolution to bring about a proper and just form of existence for all humanity. Some people call that communism, classless society. That's beautiful. But we're not going to get there just talking about it, or thinking about it, just having an idealistic idea in our heads. We have a material reality that we must base our strategies and tactics in. And so we say we're Pan-Africans. Our goal is to have one liberated, unified, socialist Africa. But, you know, that's just a step, because we believe that because what these capitalists want is stuff. They're not interested in development of humans. They want a bunch of stuff. And Africa got a whole lot of stuff. Whatever you want. Stuff to make aluminum all the way down to zinc. We got it all. We got the most of all of it. All these capitalists want our stuff. Why do you think they're trying to kill us off? Why do I think they foment all these crazy, what they call tribal wars. What we know is class war. So we believe if we can liberate this land base from the clutches of the capitalists, we will have gone a long way in freeing all of humanity. Could you imagine if we had a whole Africa just like a Libya? Liberated, socialist. Everybody can go there for training. Well, let me stop. Oh, I'd be sure, any FBI in the house? Any cops? Would you please identify yourselves now? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Go to hell, by the way. Just wanted to put that in there. So we, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, have huge love for the people inside because so many of us have been there. So many visit. We go inside regularly to see our big brothers and sisters, our comrades. When Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré started this party, and Kwame Touré brought it over here from Africa, who were the first people that he went to help organize here? Well, of course, his own comrades from SNCC, Black Panther Party, Rastafarians, Nation of Islam, all the formers came together to make this party. And we will not stop. We will not stop organizing. Prison can't do it. Bullets can't do it. Ostracizing us in the newspaper can't do it. It doesn't matter, claiming that we're drug addicts and child molesters and whatever else they're going to throw at us to get people to hate us. None of that's going to stop us. And I'm so proud to be in a room full of people who ain't stopped, will never stop, forward ever, backwards never. Thank you.
You can't tell it right now, but I'm like really overjoyed to be sitting next to Yuri Kochiyama. And I was teasing before, I brought all of this, not for him, not for nobody else, but for her. I want to get her on tape, so I'm not going to take too much time. And I know that she's going to talk about her relationship also with Safiya Bukhari. There were a couple of things I wanted to say on that, but more precisely, I just wanted to offer a few comments about the work of Jericho and political prisoners and prisoners of war in general. Safiya Bukhari was an amazing woman. She was truly a hell of a woman. We like to say hellified. The type of work that she did is amazing. And just real brief, there's a book called A Terrible Thunder, which was written around maybe 1976, which talks about Mark Essex in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was known as the New Orleans Sniper. This was a brother who, as Gil Scott-Heron said, took to the rooftops and was shooting police and anybody else who happened to be in the way who matched those particular police officers' skin color. And that book talks about how he was in the United States Navy and did not understand. He came from a sheltered community and faced racism in the U.S. military and didn't know what to do about it, became politicized and began searching out and seeking out people. And it talks in the book about how he took a trip to New York City to meet the Black Panther Party. This was like 72, late 71, 1972. And in the book it says he got to the Panther office in New York as they were in the middle of this crisis, and there was a sister there by the name of Bernice Jones who was holding down the office and running the paper and everything else. And it doesn't talk about what they talked about. It just says he went back to New Orleans and started shooting folk. Bernice Jones was Safiya Bukhari. So at that point I was like, oh damn, what kind of woman is this? Right? What kind of sister is this? Later on, I hear about how she's arrested for attempting to break out the New York, the New York Three? I forget, it's all. She's arrested attempting to break some political prisoners out of prison. Right. She eventually goes underground and becomes arrested as a political prisoner, liberates herself from prison, goes back in, finishes her sentence, is paroled, and works non-stop to free political prisoners of war, to bring awareness of their situation to the world. And so this woman is someone who we must honor. We honor her by continuing the work. As she used to say, pick up the work. As you can tell, this is not a typical memorial service. Ain't no singing of hymns, ain't no crying and none of that stuff. It's about the work. Her life exemplified that work. Our work that we must pick up. If we truly want to memorialize her, if we truly want to honor her, we must continue that struggle that was so near and dear to her heart. And that is the freeing of political prisoners and prisoners of war. Safiya came through the Black Panther Party, was a co-founder of the Jericho Amnesty International movement. The Jericho Amnesty International movement was founded by a number of individuals, a number of organizations, a number of organizational lines. The central theme that united them was that there are political prisoners and prisoners of war in this country. That line does not state that all African people who are in this country are political prisoners. Their line was a very, very hard and narrow, fast line. It said that those brothers and sisters, those men and women who have made a conscious decision to fight against the oppression of all people, be they poor whites, be they Puerto Rican people, whose island is colonized right now by the United States of America, be it the racists of South Africa, be it black folks in the United States of America, wherever people are oppressed, those people who make a conscious decision to support those people's just struggle for liberation, those people who make a conscious decision to oppose the United States foreign policy, which is responsible for much of the oppression in the world, either through support work or armed clandestine actions, those people must be classified as political prisoners and prisoners of war. Why? Because it exposes a political contradiction that can only be solved through a political situation. Legislation, civil rights laws is not going to legislate freedom. It is only through international struggle, through creating those types of international alliances, through broadening the debate. What exactly is happening? Is it just a case of racism and civil rights? Is it colonialism and imperialism? Those brothers and sisters who are in prison because of their work to oppose that type of oppression, they represent the front lines of our struggle. Their struggle is literally our struggle. They are in prison because of their work to free people. They must be freed. They must be recognized as such. That was the position of Jericho, of which she was a co-founder. That is still the position of Jericho. That was the work that Safiya Bukhari dedicated her life to. The conditions of our people give rise to the existence of political prisoners. They don't just drop from the sky. They don't migrate here from elsewhere. They come from our communities. Sundiata Akoli, Assata Shakur, Nehanda Abiodun. All of these brothers and sisters, Oscar Lopez Rivera, Eddie Beltran, Leonard Peltier, they come from our communities. They experience the same thing we experience. They make conscious decisions to struggle, to organize, to fight, and they are targeted because of that. Many brothers and sisters have been targeted simply because of their potential to ignite and organize our people. And they are thrown in prison because of that. The struggle then becomes one of also getting that struggle recognized. That Sekou Odinga is not a bank robber. He is not a cop killer. He is a brother who understood that African people had a right to be free by any means necessary, that we have a right to armed self-defense. Kojo Bomani Sababu is not in Lompoc right now because he killed drug dealers. He understood that the police do not protect black people or people of color, oppressed people, poor people. The police are an arm of the state, and they protect property. And since the police can never seem to find drug dealers and eliminate them, he took it upon himself to do that work. That is why he is in prison. Sundiata Akoli is not in prison because he's a cop killer. He defended himself against a murderous pig who was sent to take his life. Why was a murderous pig sent to take the life of Zaid Malik Shakur, Assata Shakur, Sundiata Akoli on the New Jersey Turnpike? Because of the work they had been doing in the Black Panther Party. Sundiata Akoli was a civil rights worker in the South, registering people to work, who eventually came to understand the need for different methods and joined the Black Panther Party. Safiya Bukhari's own story talks about the fact that she was in a sorority. I don't want to take up too much of her presentation. She was in a sorority and wanted to go help those people, and understood that she had on rose-colored glasses, and she made that leap. So political prisoners come from us. They take our struggle to a higher level. These attacks in our communities due to capitalism, imperialism, colonialism, ad hominem, they create the conditions that people struggle against. Those are the people who become our political prisoners and prisoners of war, and they must be supported. Safiya Bukhari once said in criticizing, after coming out of prison and in criticizing the phase of armed struggle, she said the people weren't ready. That's why they did not get the type of support that they needed. Living here in the belly of the beast, with Hollywood, with all of this stuff, the consciousness of our people has got to be lifted. They just had on TV yesterday, all over the TV, about this police officer who was killed on 48th and Western. Now, as Malcolm X said, we abhor violence. We abhor the loss of human life, which is why we want to stop it. But we have to question, why is this such a sad day for Los Angeles, as Mayor Hahn says? Because a police officer was killed. How many black and brown and poor people have been killed since Hahn took office? Was it a sad day then? If not, why not? These are the conditions that Hahn and the police department support and enforce. Those people who take it upon themselves to struggle against those conditions will in fact be political prisoners. That is another reason why Safiya Bukhari understood the need for us to struggle for the release of political prisoners. She said, if we are all serious about working for our people, about struggling for justice, for liberation, we go into jail. So we might as well create the apparatus and the movement that is going to support and free political prisoners and prisoners of war. That makes sense, doesn't it? If we're serious, right? If we're not ridiculed and laughed out of town, we go into jail. Malcolm X said, don't worry, you already in prison. Right? There's the outer prison and the inner prison, as we talked about earlier. So those of us who are political activists, who are community organizers, who call ourselves revolutionaries, we already know, we're aware of the possibility of going to jail. I'm not trying to go, but if I go, I accept that and I understand. None of us are trying to go to prison, but we're also not shrinking away from our responsibility to struggle on behalf of our people. We need more people to meet that challenge head on, like Sister Safiya Bukhari. So there is a divide right now. There's a disconnect. Since Sister Safiya passed away, it's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Because once again, we live in the belly of the beast. We get caught up in the Western way of thinking. We keep looking for that one person, that Messiah, that one person who's going to handle it all for us. We all have to take up that work. There's work for all of us to do. Now, you ain't got to inspire people to shoot cops like Safiya did with Martin Essex. You ain't got to try and break folk out of prison like Safiya did. But you can feed some people. You can organize some people. You can join an organization, as All African People Revolutionary Party talks about, that is fighting for your people. Notice, they didn't say just join any organization. We're not trying to have folk join the Republican Party, the Police Benevolent Association. I ain't trying to have nobody join the NAACP unless you're going to change it around. Organizations that are fighting for the people in some way, shape, fashion, or form. If you cannot do that, you can at least do something with compassion. Capitalism is a cancer that is killing our people. You cannot put a Band-Aid on cancer. But even in the Western medical system, they try to give you some morphine or some chemo or something to help you get through it. Our people are suffering. What can we do to help ease the suffering? What can we do that will helpfully get our people some respite or respite? I don't know how to say the word. That'll ease their pain and maybe give them some strength to struggle on themselves or to struggle one more day. There's all kinds of things that we can do. So once again, the necessity becomes that we must, what? Become organized. That we must become organized. I'm a co-host on a radio program on KPFK. It's called Some of Us Are Brave. I got into that position in a crisis type of thing. And we didn't have a lot of time to sort things out, to think things out, because I believe that media exposure, a media presence was important for the struggle. Ideally, you should have an organization that has a media component. It's hard trying to build an organization off of media alone. We have examples before us, examples that abound on how to do it the right way. What are we waiting for, people? What are we waiting for? As Sister Safiya has said before, we must pick up the work. Thank you.
There she is.
Are we going to give an introduction?
No, that's all right.
Okay, but wait a minute. She doesn't want to intro, but I got to say something. I got to say something. This woman sitting next to me, I don't know where to start, so I'm just going to jump right on in. A few years ago, you know, Che Guevara talks about a lot of things. He talks about the revolutionary being guided by great feelings of love. He talks about how you must always feel any injustice anywhere very deeply, that you need to take it personal.
That's real.
You know, this woman sitting next to me who was a victim of U.S. imperialism, who was in the concentration camps, right? I'm doing some research several years ago about the provisional government, the Republic of New Africa. Is everybody familiar with that?
All right.
And I'm reading this stuff and it says, blah, 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 Republic of New Africa, blah, blah, blah. Yuri Kochiyama became a citizen in 1968, blah, blah, blah. I had to marry. I said, say what? Yuri Kochiyama became a citizen of the Republic of New Africa. Puerto Rican. Yuri Kochiyama, every time I look around, I see this woman's name.
Okay.
So then I'm at UCLA working with NOMO several years ago. And a sister wants to do something about Malcolm X. So she does something about the assassination of Malcolm X. She goes and gets this picture of Malcolm laying on the floor of the Audubon Ballroom, February 21st, 1965. He's been assassinated. People are clamoring all around him. They got his shirt open. You know, he's looking like he's on his way out. He was on his way out. And there's this Asian woman cradling his head. And I'm like, that's Yuri Kochiyama! That's Yuri Kochiyama! They don't know what I'm talking about. They think I'm just gibbering. I'm like, you all right, Tom? Yeah, I'm fine. That's Yuri Kochiyama! That's Yuri Kochiyama! This woman has truly taken to heart that type of maxim. This woman has lived her life in support of other people's struggles for liberation. She understands that her liberation is tying with world humanity. We need to understand this woman, how great she is. Just as great as this woman, we have come to honor Safiya Bukhari about picking up the work. We must also honor Sister Yuri Kochiyama. So let me be the first one. I told her she can be mad at me later. I got to get her promise.
He knows everything. So did the brother that was right here before. Gosh, I want to thank all of you who have come here. Saturday, I know for all of you is a busy day. You probably should be shopping or something else. And yet you came here. And it's such a nice mixed group. I wish we could all get to know each other. First, I want to thank Monishita for inviting me. And I was so surprised to see Michael Novick. I never met him, but I read his stuff. And then to hear, I couldn't quite catch the name of that brother. Was it
Mpenduzi.
Mpenduzi.
Yeah, what?
Mpenduzi.
Mpenduzi.
Right.
Mpenduzi.
And I'm sure you know Marlana Karina. He knows you well.
Oh, no. I don't know if you know me. We all know who he is. Yeah. But to be invited to something like this is really something different. You don't always go to a place like this. I couldn't believe that as I walked in the door and there was Malcolm X's picture. You don't usually go to church.
All right.
And there he was, and there was Mandela, and there was a painting of someone that looked like Aldrich Cleaver, was it? I don't know. There's a painting there. And of course, Martin Luther King. All right. I want to thank those of you who made this event possible. Just as Thandi has said, Safiya Bukhari is quite an unusual person. She's an impressive Black Panther sister, activist, leader. She passed away on August 25th of last year from a heart attack. She had just come home from her mother's funeral. Today is also, as the brother who announced it, today is February 21st, a day we can never forget. It's the assassination date of the awesome, phenomenal champion of Black liberation, Malcolm X. I will first talk about Safiya, a very, very dear comrade, and then I would like to say something in remembrance of Malcolm. When I first met Safiya, she was only about 17. I was about 40. As young as she was, she quickly became one of the most dedicated grassroots Panther organizer, a political strategist, an eloquent speaker, an audacious radical, a one-time political prisoner herself, and a profound supporter of political prisoners. A beloved member of the Black community of Harlem, she was involved locally, but was a devout internationalist. Mumia Abu Jamal called Safiya the lioness for liberation and a lifeline for political prisoners, and that's what she was. Her passing was a shock to Black Panther parties all over the country, even if the Black Panther parties itself are not alive, the Panthers are alive. Especially in New York, she was missed. We could not believe that she had passed away. It was just quite suddenly that after the funeral, she had a heart attack. And she is missed by political prisoners across the country because she kept in touch with hundreds and hundreds of them. Safiya was born, as I think Tony mentioned, Bernice Jones, but was given the name Safiya Bukhari from the Imam of Greenhaven Prison in Stormville, New York. He was the best known Imam, Imam Rasul Suleiman. Do any of you remember him? Rasul Suleiman, good. He was once Robert 35X, but when Malcolm left the NOI, Suleiman was one of them. About 200 of them left the NOI and went with Malcolm, and you know that he then started MMI, Muslim Mosque Incorporated, and OAU, Organization of African American Unity. Safiya used to go to Greenhaven Prison every weekend to learn more about Islam. And she was so proud when Imam Rasul Suleiman gave her the name Safiya Bukhari. I don't know what it means. Do you? Safiya Bukhari. Okay. But she believed, like Malcolm, to keep your religion at home in a closet or just leave it at the mosque. For her, she felt the struggle should be up front. Safiya was a brilliant student and was offered a scholarship to one of the elite colleges in the East Coast. But when she witnessed a police beating a young black man selling Black Panther papers on the street, that changed her life. She wanted to know what kind of a group the Black Panther was. She picked up one of the newspapers that kid was beaten had, and after taking it home and reading it. The very next day, she began inquiring, where's the Black Panther office and how could she join? She went to the Harlem chapter and joined there. And what did she do? She did the usual things that all Panthers do. Sell newspapers on the street, become part of the Breakfast for Children program, read Mao's Red Book, attend PE session, political education session, visit prisons, go to all the marches, demonstrations, and meetings, and she was speaking at all of them. Safiya was a very busy young woman. It was hard to keep track of her. And somewhere along the way, I don't know, she became a mother. And she also, at some point in her life, she married one of the New Haven Three. And some of you, I hope, remember the name Ashanti Alston. I hope you remember me. It's one of the New Haven Three. Safiya's ever-changing life was never dull. Her journey through her movement's life were memorable. Perhaps her most dramatic moment was when she escaped from the Alderson Women's Prison in West Virginia. It was an excellently planned move and thus was successful. With a white female comrade, the two had quietly, for months and months, been prying and opening in their cell. Then one night, and it happened to be New Year's Eve, because she knew that all the jail guards would be drinking and partying. Well, by then they had a big enough space that they could crawl through. And so New Year's Eve, they crawled out of there and then they climbed over 2 fences, were chased by dogs, but reached the highway where a car was waiting for them. About 6 hours later, about 5 a.m., my husband woke me up and said, hey, someone's knocking on the door. But I went to, and he said, oh, it's probably one of your friends. There was Safiya with a huge grin on her face. It was one of the coldest nights. She had no sweater or coat. And it was one of the coldest New Year's morning. Well, you know, this year, New York, it was the coldest winter they said they had, so it must have been like that. So I knew she must be in a hurry somewhere, she better get out anyway. So I just passed her a coat and some food, and she was off. Another dramatic moment was when Safiya, with some comrades, tried to free 3 members of the Black Liberation Movement. You knew about it. The mission was unsuccessful, but it showed what kind of warrior Safiya was. Her ideas, I don't know how she gets these ideas to how to get people out of prison, but she is amazing. I mean, she risked her life on many occasions. And of course, you know who Asada is. She is very much like Asada. But there were many other black sisters who did similar things, whose names are known and we shouldn't be telling their stories. And though such women are few, besides the blacks, there are many Puerto Rican independentistas, so many were able to get out 2 years ago, and there were many white anti-imperialist women, and still there are those in prison, and Marilyn Buck got 80 years, but I think she's done 22. A quick movement odyssey of Safiya finds her becoming a Black Panther in the 60s. She was a teenager. I don't know if she finished college, but she was brilliant. She was a member of the National Committee to Defend Political Prisoners in the 70s, because by the 70s, most of the Panther leaders were in prison. And then she herself became a political prisoner in the 70s when she was caught. She was a Jericho organizer in the 80s and a member and a citizen, because you don't become a member. She was a citizen and elected official of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa. I'm so surprised you know about so many blacks don't know. Thank you. Safiya was unstoppable. Her last project before she died was working to get support for Fred Hilton, now known as Kamal Sadiki. Do any of you remember Fred Hilton? He was a Panther in the BLA. After 30 years, they busted Kamal for a police killing that happened 30 years ago. I'm sure the police had no evidence, and yet they were able to find him guilty. You know how they do it all the time. They were able to find a snitch. And so just on the evidence of a snitch, that Fred Hilton, Kamal, is in prison now. He has 1 lifetime plus 10 years. Safiya, like other New York Panthers who transitioned before her, I don't know the names of all over here in California, but the ones in New York were people like New Washington, Jaheed, Rima Kearney, Twyman Myers, and then just so many. Well, anyway, they were all awesome, fearless, and dedicated. And everyone has amazing stories that they could tell. They all left a legacy that the Panther Party can be proud of. They were part of, as she said, a part of the worldwide struggle who fought for self-determination, human rights, and basic needs for all. We will never forget Safiya Bukhari, her unpretentious demeanor, her endless devotion, her genuine camaraderie, and her excellent leadership. She was also a great admirer of Malcolm X, but I think all Panthers were. And now about Malcolm. We must remember him today. I hope that in California they are holding some kind of a memorial for him. In New York, there are so many groups doing something for Malcolm. In Harlem alone, I'm sure there'll be at least 3 memorials. Brooklyn will have its own, Queens will have its own, and the Bronx. Malcolm's demise was not unexpected. You can imagine a man like him, he was not supposed to live very long. This country would never, never allow a man like Malcolm to live, to survive, to touch the lives of others. He was only 39, but you know, all the black leaders died around that time. Well, Martin Luther King was 39, and the greatest African leader, Patrice Lumumba, was only 35, and he was tortured and beaten. He had everything done to him, and then was executed. Those of you, I'm sure, here have seen the film about Patrice Lumumba. It's done by a Haitian, if you haven't seen it. Please go see it. You will see what he went through. But there's so much that Malcolm has gone through that people don't even know about. And a lot of times it was, I wouldn't say that they were black people, they were Negroes. They were used by the
I told you she was bad.
And many of his closest, best brothers were killed, and their names aren't even remembered. But Malcolm, his courage and brilliant life left an imprint not only on his people, but on the enemy. And you know, always, they're still trying to make him into something else. He is not the kind of black man that this envious, swaggering, egotistic country would allow to live. Malcolm's unparalleled, heroic example of African manhood intimidated the U.S. to the point that the craven leadership of this nation gave the order for his assassination. Do you know who gave the order, though, for Patrice Lumumba's assassination? Who? Right, how'd you? Eisenhower. Good for you. Where did you read it? Because you usually don't. They just say CIA.
The Congo Cables, it's a book about it.
What?
The Congo Cables, it's a book about it.
Oh, well, there's another book, but I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's a good book that you all have to read. And I was surprised that it would be in there because it was a fiction story, but that was in there. Malcolm left a legacy, not by speech alone, but by action. A legacy of how to live, to be proud of your African ancestry, to fight for freedom, justice, and human dignity. And those three words, other people picked up, and no matter what background, they felt, yes, they should fight for freedom, justice, and human dignity for all. Malcolm, in his short life, changed the direction of many of the blacks who were in the movement there. He changed their focus from black nationalism to Pan-Africanism and to continue the path of African revolutionary internationalism. And I would like to end with two of Malcolm's quotes, and one quote, I don't know who, but it's a very good quote. One of his, I think, best quote is, "If we are extremists, we are not ashamed of it. In fact, the conditions that our people suffer are extreme, and an extreme illness cannot be cured with a moderate medicine." Right? And another one, "I believe there will ultimately be a clash between the oppressed and those who do the oppressing. I believe there will be a clash between those who want freedom, justice, and equality for everyone, and those who want to continue the system of exploitation. I believe there will be that kind of a clash, but I don't think it will be based on the color of the skin." And lastly, I want to repeat, it's too bad, the person who wrote it's a beautiful few lines. It's by some unknown person. It says, "Malcolm was not just a black man. He was the black experience. He was baptized into blackness and repudiated his slave name. and took on the X, the unknown, the potential of what could be, the reality of what he became. Thank you.
And I think all of us want to be like Yuri when we grow up. However tall we are. She began becoming political when she was incarcerated along with 120,000 Japanese Americans who were interned after Pearl Harbor in World War II. And her experience led her to see the relationship between what happened to Japanese Americans at that time and what